Wow. That's a nice one.
Thank you.
Enjoy it.
Well, good evening, everybody. And as a keen cyclist, it's great fun for me to have the opportunity to roll up on the stage on two wheels for a change instead of being in four. But you may be wondering why, as a car maker at a car show, I would turn up on two wheels. Well, I wanted really to bring to life the discussions that the industry has been having for some time now. Because as we all know, the world really does face unprecedented mobility and ecological challenges. And car makers are having to redefine themselves to meet this brave new world that's ahead of us. This bike here is an example of how we at Ford are embracing that challenge that we see ahead of us. Right here in Germany, starting next month in Cologne and Düsseldorf, and I'll tell you a little bit more in a few moments about what we're up to. But first, let me talk a little bit more about this challenge of helping the world to move and the opportunity as we, Ford Motor Company, see it. Many of us know that the two great dynamics that shape our society in the 21st century ahead of us. Firstly, we are living in the century of urbanization. Populations are steadily climbing, and the United Nations is reporting that global urban population is expected to grow by 2.5 billion people by 2050. That's an incredible increase of nearly 150%. Our great cities are already densely overpopulated and facing huge challenges, amongst them congestion, emissions, and of course air quality, to name just a few. The threat, particularly here in some parts of Europe, is that old and already creaking infrastructure will deteriorate further. Air pollution will worsen, and congestion may well bring movement of people and goods to a grinding halt in the not too distant future. Now, none of us want to live in a future where nothing can move and everything is static. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the opportunity, of course, is to use the other great dynamic shaping all of our lives, which is the revolution created by digital technology. Artificial intelligence, cars talking to each other, and of course to the infrastructure, more advanced driver assist systems, and obviously, ultimately, fully autonomous vehicles. Much of this is already with us, or certainly well on the way. But we have to innovate. But in order to really make a difference, we need rapidly to embed this innovation, making it accessible to millions of people. At Ford, we have a history of being able to do this, and we intend to keep leading in this space in the future. But clearly, this is not about any one company or even any one industry having all of the answers. The auto industry is learning rapidly that it needs partners, and in this brave new world, those partners mean working with new technologies, new sectors, and also working with cities in a completely different way to create solutions and services. Businesses cannot be one-dimensional and selfish when facing these challenges. If in some cities the only answer is to take cars out of the system to ease congestion, then we must help cities find ways to adapt to these changing situations and perhaps take those cars off of the road. We have to be people-centric in our approach and fundamentally change today's transportation paradigm in order to maintain freedom of movement and, of course, quality of life. It's a collaborative approach and a vision for the future that has inspired us at Ford to create our own City Solutions team, a team that will work with cities as partners in a completely new way, embracing technology, taking design and public policy leaders, as well as residents, into our thinking to think through the broader transport ecosystem and the emerging mobility solutions and the common needs, or in fact the individual needs, of all the major cities that we operate in. It's a collaboration that we need to apply to a new mobility world and the solutions that will keep us all moving efficiently. These solutions have to include the infrastructure. The pressing need for innovation and investment to be applied to an aging infrastructure is in order to provide a secure and a sustainable basis for future mobility. This is particularly true of the challenge facing our efforts to scale up the adoption of electric vehicles in cities where we already have a strained energy grid. That's why we have founded a joint venture with Audi, BMW, Daimler, and Porsche to establish an ultra-fast, high-powered charging network along Europe's highways. The goal is to quickly build up a significant number of stations with power levels up to 350 kilowatts in order to enable long-range travel for the future electric vehicles. This will be an important step towards facilitating mass-market battery electric vehicle adoption. The initial target is about 400 sites with thousands of charging points by 2020. Infrastructure improvements such as these will help all of us make electric vehicles a mass transportation solution, both for passenger cars and, of course, in the commercial vehicle sector. Commercial vehicles are extremely important to us, where we are the leader in Europe, and as a result of this, we've been innovating in this space by partnering with Deutsche Post DHL to jointly produce the street scooter Work XL, a specially designed fleet of electric delivery vans that start here on the streets in Germany later this year. By 2018, our collaboration will be Europe's largest manufacturer of emission-free, medium-sized e-vans. But it isn't just about new powertrains made sustainable by new infrastructure. It's about reassessing our approach at the most fundamental level, starting with how we use our streets. We tend to think of public spaces as parks or green open spaces, yet the largest public spaces in any city are actually the streets. Many of those streets were built decades ago, with only one commuter in mind, the owner of a personal vehicle. How we use these streets is clearly a reflection of our values and of our perspectives. We have to reevaluate how they're designed to ensure they serve a variety of people and a variety of uses effectively, whether they're used for personal or commercial vehicles, public transport users, cyclists, of course, or even pedestrians. The streets of the future must be a shared resource. And that means automakers need to reevaluate their own approach to embrace other modes of transport. This is a good reason why we have launched our Ford Pass bike sharing scheme right here in Germany. Partnering with Germany's market leader, Bike, which is part of the Deutsche Bahn Connect, with whom we already have a very successful Ford car sharing partnership here in Germany. We are launching on October the 15th, starting with 3,200 Ford Pass bikes in Cologne and Düsseldorf, linked to a nationwide fleet of 13,000 Bike units in 50 cities across Germany. The bikes can be accessed through the Ford Pass app, which is our one-stop mobility app designed to help you move smarter and better and, of course, easier than ever before. And as part of the scheme, we're offering 100,000 free one-year memberships to Ford customers. Now, as I'm sure I'm not the only wannabe Chris Froome in the audience tonight, we have also provided you with a membership voucher that you will find in your goodie bag. And I strongly encourage you to take up the chance of riding one of these fantastic bikes in one of the 50 cities that they're going to be deployed in across Germany. So please take the opportunity to try the scheme. But through the Ford Pass, you can always also link our bike sharing to our car sharing initiative. And this takes us towards our long-term goal of an integrated mobility service. Because the integration of multiple modes of transport is crucial to our vision of movement of the future, we need to make sure that all of these initiatives knit together as we roll them out across our business. As we increase the number of options for movement, we need to fuse them into one cohesive network. No form of transport should or can operate independently, and they must all communicate with all facets of an interconnected city ecosystem. This integration will help movement become seamless and also much more efficient, with less vehicles and less individual journeys being made across our cities. That is also why we've launched our crowdsourced shuttle service called Chariot. For each chariot on the road in the US, 11 personal vehicles can be removed from the system. And it's estimated that in China, one chariot could equate to 25 vehicles off of the road. Movement made more efficient by sharing and using data intelligently, which is in many ways the most critical aspect in our new future mobility vision. Data can combine what we know about a city's geography with how people, goods, and services move throughout the city, determining everything from maximizing the efficiency of transit routes to helping commuters get to where they need to go easily and, of course, on time. Data will be the invisible infrastructure that lies behind all our future mobility possibilities. Yet the effective use of data, like all other aspects of future mobility I have mentioned this evening, is ultimately dependent on the most important dynamic of all. And that dynamic is finding a common purpose. Our future is full of complex challenges, but of course, plenty of exciting possibilities and a dramatic change for all of us. The auto industry clearly is on the cusp of a revolution that's as great as that when Henry Ford made the first cars accessible to the masses over 100 years ago. But as much as things will change in our new mobility world, the goals that unite us remain exactly the same as those goals that inspired Henry: to help people move and, ultimately, to make people's lives better. As we consider together the what and also the how of a new mobility world, we must also crucially keep uppermost the shared vision and common purpose that we can all aspire to, which of course is the why. So, a people-centric goal of human improvement that synthesizes all our efforts and everybody's collaboration. Because as Henry Ford also said, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, but working together ultimately is success. And that is why this gathering and others like it are so important, not just to discuss what the future holds or even how we might achieve it, but to constantly remind ourselves of the why that shapes all our efforts to make progress. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention this evening, and again, I encourage you all to use the voucher we've given you for our wonderful Ford bike sharing scheme, and I look forward to seeing some of you pedaling around the streets of Dusseldorf and Cologne in the next few weeks. Thank you very much.